Hello there, it's Jennifer Huff again, and we are on 21 days of finding peace in times of great change. I don't know about you guys, but I was a shaky girl today. I was feeling a little. I had to drive through a place, talk about finding peace. A place called Swananoa here in Western North Carolina, and as I was driving through, um, it's one of the places where the most people died, first of all, in the hurricane. And our guest today was saying that the river went up 25 feet and was a half a mile across when it's usually just this lovely little, almost not a creek, a little bigger than a creek, but it's not a raging river for sure. And yeah, wow is all I have to say. The funny thing is I was on a way to a little gathering of the Jubilee, they call them jubilants, at a church, and it was just perfect that I was there. So, everybody who's joining us today, how did you feel? I'd love to hear how you felt. If you wanna submit your comments, just write them in. We read them oftentimes. Adam, our producer, will put them up on the screen so we can see them better. But where are you hailing from? Where are you in the world? What's going on? Did you feel the shakiness today? Did you kind of feel like, whoa, winds of change? I really, it was highly unfamiliar, right? Pretty crazy. So it's almost, I was saying this to someone today as we were diving into, I think I was saying it the other day too. I was saying it to one of my dear friends who has a lavender farm in California, and she amplifies the frequencies of the lavender with these azestulite crystals, which basically send the calming properties of lavender out into the ionosphere, right? And so she not only sells it and activates it, but literally her just having a farm is a global has a global effect, which I love so much. But as I was speaking with her, what came through in these really fast moving, crazy times is that really we're going to have to, we have to let life bring us the evolutions in perfect divine timing, and that perfect divine timing is in a way such that our nervous systems can actually process what's in front of us, kind of like me going through Swananoa and then going to a little church with a spiritual group, right? Kind of interesting that I was there. I took pictures. I'll post them, but geez. So, you guys, yeah, it's a lot. I know you're feeling a lot too. Maybe not everyone, but some of you. Diane, I love that you're feeling gassy. Thanks for sharing. Um, my word for today is just blessed to have a new friend. And my new friend, who I met not that long ago, is named Whitney Natiello, and she is super groovy cool. And she lives around the corner from me. Who knew? Right? We're so lucky.
So
So,
lucky.
yeah, I know. So, Whitney, I met you through our guest who's coming tomorrow, who's an acupuncturist, come seer, come genius. And yeah. And as soon as she said Whitney Natiello, I'm like, ooh, I found out that you love brains as much as I love brains. Can you share it with everybody how you came into this work in trauma? Because I know I have, from having talked to you for, I think we talked for an hour and a half the other day. But so what is it that got you into this world? Because that's what we're going to do today. We're actually going to work with the science of the brain to take everyone through a process that you invented. So but the brains technique, but we'll talk about that in a second. I want everyone to get a little bit more about you. How did you get so interested in the brain?
Yeah, it was, thank you for having me, by the way.
Mwah! So happy.
So I have been an acupuncturist for 25 years. And back in 2017, she, my first husband died when my daughter was 5. And so since that time, she was having some brain health issues.
Mhm.
She had a lot of difficulty with short-term memory.
Mm,
And so what was happening from a protection standpoint is that her brain thought that it was better to not remember things than to remember painful things. And
mm,
so the brain brilliance in its total brilliance was protecting her. And that made for a very difficult 13 years of her trying to navigate the world because she
mm,
was not able to remember sequences of things. So, like, doing something like math or reading or watching a movie or reading a book or learning guitar or ballet, like all of those things require you to remember the last step that you just did. And so she did not have that capacity. So I tried everything in my alternative arsenal, and I finally read it was a Facebook ad from Dr. Daniel Amen with the Amen clinics, and
which is, by the way, everyone, an ad that I also read too, and I got so interested in what Dr. Amen, and I haven't ever met anyone who actually was into his work, and you actually went and did the training. I was so excited to hear that you did that, but I'm interrupting this story, but it's one of the reasons why I'm like,
Yes,
I
yes.
you. Okay, go. Okay, so, yeah.
So, one of the things that he said is, "How can you possibly treat the brain without looking at it?" And it was one of those, like, light bulb moments, like, "Yeah, why aren't we looking at the brain? I know there's trauma. I know she's got trauma. I know where the trauma's from. I tried all of these things with therapists and counselors and psychiatrists and Western meds and, all of these different things." And what I found was that when I read that ad, I was like, I want to see what's going on in her brain because I cannot, for 13 years, I have tried to figure this out. And so what I did is I made an appointment with the closest Amen's clinic is in Atlanta, Georgia, near North Carolina. And I went down there and I took her down there. And well, just to back up for a second, so just to kind of give you an idea of how much her brain was not operating, in 10th grade, she was failing high school and she took her PSATs. And that's a test here in the United States to get into college. And she scored a 17 percentile in
Wow.
10th grade. Fast forward to 11th grade, I take her in to see the Amen clinic, and we look at her brain and we see a healthy brain and we see her brain, and there's vast difference, and we understand why she has been struggling now for 13 years. And it was just an amazing process that we went through.
Right.
And so she went on the treatment protocol,
Yes.
and within a couple of days, I noticed a difference, and I was like, am I just seeing this or is this real? And it was real. And so it was so real. 2 weeks after starting the protocols,
Right.
she took her SATs, which is the score that they use for the college, and she got a 74%.
Come on now, right? And one of the other things that you and I have in common because this is just from, as soon as I listen to Dr. Amen, I'm like, this now everyone's gonna go and research him, you know that, right? So, he's so passionate, you
Yeah.
guys. He's super passionate. And if you know anything about brains, when you listen to him, you're like, duh.
Yeah.
Especially after we heard all that stuff about what happens to football players and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. It's like a really such a no-brainer. But the other thing you and I have in common is Dr. Hamer's work.
Mhm.
His work is where they actually took CAT scans and started to correlate the
Mhm.
shadows in the CAT scans and the schisms in the CAT scans to actual emotional events
Mhm.
that were sort of choice points, were trigger points and change points in someone's life.
Mhm.
And then Dr. Hamer had all these techniques to be able to undo, like, imagine having a CAT scan with all these shadows, and then they just disappear because you do this really cool work with the brain.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you and I have that in common, but you also do EMDR and
I don't do EMDR.
oh, I thought you did at EMDR. So you
No,
also do
I have
trauma work.
received it. I have
Okay,
received EMDR. Yes, I
okay.
am not a therapist.
So you also have done, like, where did the trauma piece come in? Because right now I know lots of people have
Yeah,
had so much of that in our area, but
right.
even just with everything going on in the world, it's pretty easy to get traumatized. So why did the trauma work start to interest you?
Well, because how my daughter's brain was not working was due to trauma.
Mhm.
And we tried all of the normal things and all of the and a bunch of alternative things. I mean, I was doing this for 13 years in constant search. I mean,
Mhm.
there was one point where I was doing scalp acupuncture on my daughter for 45 minutes a day for 3.5 months. I mean, I tried everything under the sun, which is not good for a mother-daughter relationship, just FYI. Um, so um, so I knew that trauma, and then, of course, treating acupuncture and acupuncture every time somebody was coming in, I mean, 80% of the time, I would say they would have a really big stressor, if not trauma. And in in Germanic healing knowledge, GHK,
Mhm.
Dr. Hammer's work, there's a very specific way that we talk about trauma, and it's something that's sudden, distressing, and you feel isolative at the moment. And what isolative means, you feel alone and helpless. So when we think about like the trauma here with the hurricane, it was a sudden and distressing event for, I think, probably 95% of us.
Mhm.
And the part of where does it shift into trauma is if the person at the time going through the experience felt alone and helpless. If they felt alone and
Mhm.
helpless, then that's when a biological program begins, and
Mhm.
that's when you have physical health implications, or you have brain health implications of mood and behavior issues. So it's when those three criteria are involved. And so so when I learned that in 2017, as I was
Mhm.
learning the brain health work, I was also learning German new medicine. And so I just, it was just like, oh my gosh, this
So
all
good, right?
together. Yeah. I mean, it was amazing.
So good, dude. So then what is brains exactly? If probably doing the technique is gonna take less time
Right. Then
than
to try to explain
describing the technique.
it.
So, you guys, this is another one of those very effective, but really so efficient
Yes.
ways to move through and say it again, so it's like something that's actually really intensely emotional, and
Mhm.
you feel incredibly alone and powerless at
Mhm.
the time, and this is one of those things that I wanna be really clear with everyone. This isn't for, like, if you have major PTSD, like I just heard about, yeah, you that this is not for that.
Right.
This is for something like, the election for some was that, so
Yes.
that might be the perfect thing for some of
Right.
you. So tell us what BRAINS stands for.
So, and this is really specific for anything that's happened in the last 4 months. If
Perfect.
it's something that's happened prior to that, that's considered PTSD, and I would recommend EMDR, ART, somato-emotional release,
Mhm,
something like that.
mhm,
So this technique, the B.R.A.I.N.S is an acronym. So the B stands for bilateral because we use two sides of the body. The R stands for resolution, and this is the difference that makes it from other techniques. Because in Germanic healing knowledge, when you have a trauma, the way that your body processes it, you have to find a resolution or a solution.
mhm,
And so the only part of you that knows a solution is your psyche, is your subconscious. And so we have to tap into our subconscious to receive either a perspective shift or we may receive a physical action to take in order to handle and resolve the trauma or the
mhm.
stress.
Yep.
So the that's the R is the resolution. And then we use this technique during an acute, that is for the A, interrupted nervous system.
Okay.
So that's what BRAIN stands for.
Very cool. Yeah, so much to share. But when we go for our walk, I'll share more. You guys, so the brains technique involves some physical activity, correct?
Mhm.
Like, so
Yes.
what actually does it and like what are we physically doing during this technique? How long does it take? And that kind of great stuff.
Okay. So it usually takes about 5 to 7 minutes.
Mhm.
And you're going to be, I'm going to be telling you, inviting you to tap at a certain pace and a certain rate and a certain part of your body. This is, I just want to really clarify, this is not EFT.
Mhm.
EFT is great for some things in terms of helping to shift perspective, but it's something that a perspective comes from the outside. And in Germanic healing knowledge, it is really important that your own psyche come up with the resolution because I can give you a bunch of different ideas and you're like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. But if you have that intuitive knowing that like this is what I need to do, that is the difference between the EFT and the
Love
brains
it.
technique. So you'll be tapping, and once you start tapping, once and then I'll bring you through all of this. But once you start tapping, I'll be telling you how to tap, how quickly, and for how long. And then you'll be doing that for about 5 to 7 minutes or so. So, and then we're going to take your system from fight or flight into parasympathetic. If you are in fight or flight, if you're not in fight or flight and you don't have anything in the past 4 months that has affected you deeply with stress or trauma wise, then you want to save this video for to be able to watch it for later
Yeah,
for
and
another
God
time.
bless you.
Yeah, right, right, and go you.
Yeah, yay
Who
you.
doesn't feel that?
So you guys, make sure you're sitting somewhere comfy for sure. We'll go through all the things, but aren't you excited? Aren't you excited to do this? It's just gonna be so good.
It is gonna be so good.
And I love that it's internal. One of
Yes.
the things, that in our work we're so adamant about is that the time for gurus is over. It's
Mhm,
really about us becoming our own guru.
mhm,
It's really about and that's why I gravitated to
mhm.
Dr. Hemmer in the first place.
Yep.
So kids, so good, so fun. All right. Let's see. So in total, this technique one of the things I wanted to share with you is that I've already done it. I've done the technique at least once. And it was so great because we were working through something that yeah, yeah, I already had the hurricane. I didn't want another thing on top of the hurricane, and it
It
felt
was
like another kind of
clear,
hurricane, and
right?
I'm
Yeah,
over it,
yeah.
right? So we worked through it, and I can say right now, if it was like I would say I could put it I think I said told you it was like a 9 when we
Mhm,
started. I would
mhm.
say it's right now it's a 1 it's a 1, and I feel it's a 1, and it's an empowered 1. It's not
Mhm.
just a 1 with,
Right.
"Okay, but we'll see how the next time it happens," it's an
Mhm.
empowered 1. It's like, "Okay." So I
Mhm.
just want you guys to know that those were my results. Also, we're kinda doing it a high well, I'm not doing anything. I'm not gonna say we. Miss Natiello is going to do it kind of at in an average timing as opposed to, taking, not in the shortest time and not in the longest time. And some of you are gonna think, "Oh, it's like I coulda used a minute more or 2 minutes more." You can go back to this video, and if you don't get
Mhm.
the full processing time, go back and do it because it's not that it doesn't work. It
Mhm.
absolutely friggin' works, okay?
Mhm.
And you can find the replay on the Wide Awakening YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in The Wide Awakening, and there's a whole playlist with all of the Finding Peace in Times of Great Change. So, Miss Natia. Whitney, I would say that, like, I'm ready. I got my thing in mind. I got my thing in mind. I know
All right,
exactly
you
what
got it?
I'm working on.
Okay.
So, and again, if you feel like there's a little bit more time that you need, you can go back and watch the video and just put it on pause while you do it, and then you'll have the right amount of time. But hopefully, we'll see how many people move through this. Yeah, it'll be
Mhm.
fine. It'll be great. It'll be great.
That'd be
Okay,
great.
so Whitney, take
Okay.
it away, sister.
Okay. So, what I would invite you to do is if you are sitting down, that would be great. Um, Go ahead and just take one deep breath wherever you are sitting. And you can put your right hand on your right thigh and your left hand on your left thigh. And what I would invite you to do is if anything is bothering you, where your emotions are giving you information and you may feel emotionally hijacked about something that happened in the last week, in the last day, in the last hour, in the last couple months, up to about 4 months ago. So if you can invite in a person, place, or event that has happened that has really affected you. You may not be sleeping, you may have brain fog, you may have a poor appetite, your hands and feet might be cold. Those are all signs that something is trying to move through you and that you have stress and trauma have impacted you. So, what I would invite you to do is to close your eyes for just a moment and bring up whatever that person, place, or event was. And my question to you is, what is your emotion about that? And you want to think about, is it, kind of the four major, there's five major emotions that everything kind of falls under. Joy, we won't talk about because we love joy. So we won't talk about that. So if something made you mad or sad or fearful or where you feel disgust, if there's something emotionally in that realm, so you want to bring in that emotion. And that what I'm going to do as we go through this process is invite you for 2.5 really intense, uncomfortable minutes is to feel that feeling and to go down all the rabbit holes, all the worries. If it's anxiety, um, think about all the things that could go wrong. Allow yourself to go there just for 2.5 minutes. I promise you that after a couple minutes, you will find relief and you may find a solution to your trauma or stressor. So the first thing that I'm going to have you do is I'm going to go ahead. So when we tap, I want you to bring up, you can, if you pretend that my thighs are right underneath my arms, you want to bring up your hands above your thighs. So I don't want your heels of your hands on your thighs. I want you up like this. Think about this as real estate. You want your whole palm touching your entire thigh. So I'm going to go ahead and invite you to tap your right hand to your right thigh and your left hand to your left thigh. And you're going to start tapping quickly. And the pace is going to be right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. We're going to do this for a couple minutes. And do not stop tapping until I tell you to stop tapping, and that will be in about 5 to 7 minutes. So as you're tapping quickly, I want you to really feel what that emotion is. If you are angry, go ahead and cuss out inside your brain the person, place, or thing, or spirit, or God, or Buddha, or the rock, or nature, or whatever. Just go ahead. If you are mad, allow that out. If you are anxious about something or fearful, go down to the worst case scenarios. What if XYZ will happen or could happen? Allow yourself to go through all um, the rabbit holes and allow yourself to feel it in your body. And so I'm going to go ahead and be quiet for 2.5 minutes while you're processing this, and keep tapping quickly. And I will check back in just 2.5 minutes. Okay, for those of you whose I would go ahead and keep tapping and think about, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst or the most intense, what level you are now at with the emotion. If you're at a 3 or below, you can go ahead and start tapping more slowly, and that pace is going to be right, left, right, left. And you can go ahead and do that. And I'm going to give people just another 30 seconds for those who need a little bit more processing time. So the ones who are still needing to process, keep tapping quickly. Okay, and for those who are tapping quickly, just take note, check in. What is the emotional intensity level on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the most intense. And go ahead and start tapping slowly. So that pace is right, left, right, left. And the first group, you can continue doing the slow tapping as well. And we're going to be in this phase for about 2.5 minutes. We're almost there. Okay, and the first group who started tapping slowly, when I first said that, you can stop tapping and take a deep breath and just check in to see how you are feeling, what the level of intensity is at, and just allow yourself to just be in the relief of the space that you have just created in your body and your brain. And the second group, you've just got another 30 seconds or so. And for those of you who are still slow tapping, just you can stop, take a breath, and allow your shoulders to drop and your cells and the space between your cells to just relax. And just check in and see what the emotional level is. Yeah. Great. And I would invite you after we're done here, if you can do anything that's calming, have a cup of tea, yoga, listen to some calming music, put your feet on the ground, whatever feels relaxing to you, to help now that your nervous system is calm, so that you can go back out into the world with a calm, adaptable nervous system. And I would also write down any new perspective shifts that came in the second half during the slow tapping. Did you have any new thoughts or new perspectives or new solutions? And over the next 24 to 48 hours, I would actually look for new thoughts and new perspectives and new solutions to your stress or trauma. So you want to keep an eye on that. So I would write yourself a sticky note, and maybe in the morning, put it on the mirror and say, any new perspectives? To just remind you to pay attention and look for that. Yeah. There we go.
One of the things that I imagine sometimes that happens, you know, those times where you do such a it was so ready to leave or to transform
Mhm.
or to be transcended that in the morning you can't even find what you were worried about. Those are my favorite ones.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh, I cannot, yeah, so good. And you'll see when we do Yesence together how the cross, so you're just gonna laugh your head off. It's gonna be great. So, so dude, what may I share my experience?
Yeah, please, I'd love to
Okay.
hear.
So I actually changed my mind before we started, and I actually did the election.
Mhm.
Um, what came up for me is the division, just
Mhm.
all the division and a lot of the vitriol and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And, I happened to have seen a post that just totally traumatized me. It just got me. And I'm like, "Damn, why did I do that? Why did I even look at the stupid thing?"
Mhm.
Right? Because I was vibrating at that level, that's why.
Right.
And so then I changed it, and I'm glad that I did because it was causing me more anxiety than I thought, and what I
You
was
changed your focus of what you went in with.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because there was a lot of fear and anxiety about the future for humanity, right? I'm thinking, well,
Mhm.
that's not nothing. And then and then by the end, I came back to the same thing I came back to, um, at the end of the election, which was a deep sense of resolve. Because it doesn't matter if your party won or your party lost, it really doesn't matter. The division is still there.
Right.
And that division is not optimal,
Mhm.
It's, people can be really irrational, and I just dropped into there's a sense of resolve about who I'm to be in the world that I
Mhm.
had right after the election, but since then, so much has happened, and so I just wanna thank you for
Mhm.
perfect night, perfect timing, perfect process. Just
Yeah.
so, so great, and I love to hear from everybody who did the process. If you can put into the comments, how was that for you? How do you feel right now? Maybe if you wanna share, you can share the subject, but you don't have to. Just
Or you can just share the emotion
yeah,
and share where you were when you started and where you are now.
that would be very nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was like a 7, and I would say I'm now a 2, but I expect it to even
it'll continue, yeah.
change even more, yeah.
So,
So
can
can
I
Yeah, go.
can I
Yes,
share?
please. Yeah.
So what is happening in that process
Yes.
is and you can see this on SPECT brain scans, is when you're doing that bilateral tapping in
Mhm.
that sequence and
Yes.
in that with that different focus, is when you are in survival, blood
Yes.
flow is only in certain parts of your brain. It has left your prefrontal cortex, it's in your amygdala and hypothalamus and deep limbic system. You've got the reptilian brain, your lid is flipped, it's gone. And so you're just focusing when you run from a tiger, you are focusing on your next step and your escape route. You're not thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner. You're not thinking about writing your book or what your next dance steps are going to be or anything else. You are focused on surviving.
Mhm.
And when we are focused on surviving, we cannot think about a math problem or how to fix the plumbing in our house or any type of problem solving. We cannot do that. And so this technique helps to get your full brain filled with blood everywhere. And when that happens, you now have access not only to your entire brain, but to your psyche, to your subconscious, and your intuition. And
Yes.
so these next couple days, you are going to notice some things that you have not been seeing, and different thoughts and ideas are going to come because you are now online. Your brain's online.
Yeah.
So. Mm.
Yeah. So, oh, I'm glad you were a 9 down to a 3 about your,
Mm.
youth minister. I'm so sorry to
Sorry.
hear about that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, you guys, yeah, I know there's so much grief going on right now, but isn't it great to have, and Rachel, um, can't wait to see you embodiment this week, my love. Yeah,
Mm.
such good stuff. I'm so glad that you've all made some juicy evolutions. That's great.
Mhm.
And can people so they can come back and they can use this video to kind of process something else, but the cool thing is, you guys, guess what? Is that Miss Whitney is, half an hour for me, and, for those of you that are in the Asheville area, so easy to get in connection with, which Adam's gonna post her, brains technique is it .com?
.com.
Dot
Mhm.
com. Yeah, and he'll post that so you can go and check Miss Whitney out, and at the same time, I want you to know that, the technique seems simple, but
Mhm.
I just wanna give Whitney some props.
Mhm.
The technique seems simple, but imagine over 20 years of experience, 25 years probably.
Mhm.
5? Yeah, 25 years of experience in who I know to be one of the foremost the foremost researchers, people that I look into because I'm just wired that way to find
Mhm.
the best of the best. And that, much like me, you've developed a
Mhm.
technique based on those premises, and this takes like 5, 6, 7 minutes.
And it's so you can use it in so many different ways. You can use it for decision making, for relationships, for communication. You can treat others. You can be I was in a witness to a car accident, and
Mm,
I helped the woman out of the car, and I was able to immediately downgrade her so that
yeah.
she did not have PTSD and was
Oh,
not
good.
afraid to get in the car after that. You can use it with your kids, with your pets. There's so many different ways to do it, and there's so many different nuances with it as well. We just did a super quick,
Yeah.
brief
It's cursory.
overview. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, this is all deep. You guys know that we only have, like, less than a half an
Yeah,
hour to
yeah.
do, like, super juicy stuff, but it's kinda like imagine that everything we're doing is like the tip of the iceberg of
Mhm.
the deeper dive of all of it. So, Whitney, I just wanna say I'm so grateful to Marina, who's coming tomorrow night, who's gonna do some really cool things with us too. But I'm so grateful to her and just to that we found each other, that I could actually share your brilliance with everybody here, that everyone got to find, another just brilliant tool by someone. Again, I resonate so deeply because it was my trauma that had me have to do all the work and go to all the people and figure out what my path was, and the cool thing is you I just share that with you, and I just really I know what it takes to be someone that kind of draws outside the lines
Mhm.
and is in feels like she doesn't belong, but unstoppable about finding solutions because your daughter was such an amazing excuse
Yes.
to bless her.
Mhm.
So, and how's your daughter now? Just so we can put a caboose on the train of that story.
She is doing great. She is, planning her wedding and,
Oh, cool.
fi
Congratulations.
finding out where and who she wants to be, but one thing she really knows is she wants to be a mama. So
Aw.
Um
Well, that's a testament to you, girlfriend. So thank you, Whitney,
Thank you
truly, like,
so much, Jennifer, for this
from my heart
opportunity
to
to
you.
help. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for helping all these wonderful peeps. And so pass this along, you guys. Remember, it's on the YouTube channel. Go to the Wide Awakening YouTube channel. Definitely follow us and like us. It helps it to get to more people. Make comments on the videos. That also helps them to find their way to the people that need them.
Mhm.
And it just really matters. Each of our guests is also sharing them with their community. So it's just a beautiful thing in these times of great change. We've got about um, I can't remember how many days left, but we've got quite a few days left now. But we're halfway there. I think we're way over halfway there actually. So guys, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, 5:55 Eastern. Remember, you can always watch the replay, but it's more funner to come live. You know what I mean? And I just want to mention that you're just not alone in this world. That's one of the things, as beautiful Whitney was sharing earlier, it's one of the greatest things that triggers the trauma is
Mhm.
not, the event itself, obviously, that would traumatize us is already unpleasant, but that feeling like we don't have power and that
Mhm.
we're all alone, that's what kind of drives the nail in, right?
And it
And so
lasts. It just
right,
keeps going on.
right.
Yeah, it's not
And
just that minute.
yes. And so remember that default level of God. I want to share something. Okay, dudes, I was working all day. I was working this morning, no, yesterday morning with my bestie slash someone who has helped to run TWA for so long. And we were talking about uh, getting to a place where we can capacitate and move through our bodies so much more, changing the set point of what our nervous systems and our understanding of life can handle, such that that which would have traumatized us last year just becomes water off a duck this year.
Mm.
And that's really what the embodiment program is about. That's why I was working on it. That's why I'm talking about it today, because it was so clear when I was talking to yet another friend today that we can we can start to include all possibilities in our frame of reference such that we can get way out ahead of so much of this.
Mhm.
And my work is not so much what Whitney is doing, which we all need, including me. Um, our work is about changing that set point
Mm.
as an entire process in and of itself.
Mm.
And so if you are in the least called to do embodiment, make sure you go and check it out. Just come to the workshop. It helps so much in these times of great change. So Whitney, bless you. Thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate you. I cannot wait to go for a walk. And for everyone that's listening, thank you for just being such a brave soul in this world. And I just want to let you know again, you're not alone. Is there any final, what do you want to say as a final, just like for everybody who's just feeling overwhelmed right now? What do you want to say, Whitney? Because you've been through enough yourself. I've heard a chunk of your story. And what do you want to say about, relating to your personal journey and big changes?
Suffering is optional.
Amen. A
Mhm.
great way to close.
Mhm.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, everybody. Good night. Have a great rest of your night. Mwah.
Good night, all.